So I talk a lot about acquiring a firm, but what happens after you buy that firm? What are the good practices to make sure that you don't buy it today and it crumbles tomorrow? Let's talk about it. So you just bought a firm. Congratulations. Now the real worry begins. How do I make sure that it doesn't implode on itself? What are those best practices that I can follow to make sure that the firm doesn't only survive, but it also thrives? And as a thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing on this video, here's a picture of a really cute deer trying to get 941 quarterlies done before it's too late. But seriously, if you really like the content and you want to be notified more, or you want the algorithm to pop it up in front of you more, hit a like, throw a comment, or subscribe, and you'll get more of the content. Okay, you just bought that firm, you're popping that bottle of champagne. Yay, it's awesome, it's amazing. But now the real work begins. Now that little thought, the stress starts coming in of, how do I make sure this thing doesn't fall apart? Well, that's what I want to talk to you about today. What are some of the best practices that you can put into place after you buy that firm to make sure it doesn't implode on itself? And I want to talk about 4 main strategies that you can use to make sure that this company is growing, going up and to the right versus down and to the right. So day one, you walk in and everybody's looking at you. All the staff is looking at you like, is this guy gonna fire us? Is he gonna keep us? Should I start looking for another job? The best thing you can do, and these are things that I've done, you wanna figure out who those key employees are and provide them bonus retentions. The best thing you can do is sit down one-on-one with each member of your team and ask them, what are things that they like about the firm? What are things that they'd like to see changed about the firm? What about their own personal development? Are they frustrated? Do they feel like they have too much on their plate? All of those things are going to help show that staff member that, hey, I'm here to try and make this work for you, just as I am trying to make this work for myself, for clients, for the previous owner. All of those things. You will build a lot of loyalty very fast if you can walk into that firm, hear their concerns, and then little by little over the next few months, maybe they start seeing changes that came from conversations with you. This will show them that you are actually here for them. I've seen this happen at the multi-million and even multi-billion-dollar level. When private equity will come into a firm and they're aggressively trying to grow it and they just bought it, they are identifying who those key employees are, who do we need to keep, who do we need to incentivize to stick around. Now, what that bonus is and the terms of those bonuses and all those different things, that's going to be different for everybody. I can tell you how we handled this at the firms that we're acquiring. Usually we're offering a $10,000 retention bonus that is paid after a key date. So I like to use June 1st. I know everybody says April 15th is the end of the tax season, but in reality, you have franchise taxes after that. You just, the dust needs to settle from 4/15. So the way I set up the retention bonuses for key employees is I'm going to say, look, if these 2 conditions are met, you will receive your $10,000 bonus. Number 1, you must be employed by June 1st. Number 2, and this is what kind of saves you and allows you some flexibility in determining if they earned that bonus or not, is you must adopt our culture. And it's intentionally a little open for interpretation, but what that allows you to do as the new owner is to assess that key employee's performance over that time period. And if you don't like how they're performing, then make sure they're not employed with you by June 1st or another date if you choose it. But I like the June 1st date because it gets us past tax season. It incentivizes them to be around. And ideally, they are adopting whatever your culture is. For us, we let everybody know what our core values are. There's respect, there's accountability, there's integrity, there's team player, there's communication. a lot of these things that we embed in our cultures, if they're not meeting those core values, then you need to make that decision before June 1st. So that's how we've been kind of able to retain our key employees. You throw that incentive way out there on the other side of tax season so that you can ensure that we are together, we're a team heading into tax season. The last thing you want is for a key employee to just be overwhelmed and up and walk out on you February 28th. That's tough. That's going to be a rough one to get past. So these retention bonuses and discussions and conversations with the staff, all of this needs to be taken very seriously, and you need to actually listen to what the team's concerns are. You can find a lot of good information about what's working in the firm and what's broken in the firm simply by the feedback of the employee. Number one is we need to retain employees. The employees are the lifeblood of the firm on day one because you're probably not going to know much. The second thing I think you need to do as soon as you walk in there is figure out how under market those tax returns really are in terms of the fees. I can tell you now, the data tells us time and time again when we're working with different clients in our community, all these owners are pretty significantly underpriced. It's rare that I see one that's at or above market rate. This is the power of being able to raise tax returns. So when you walk in there, you can't be afraid to make and I'll say tasteful and professional increase in fees. Look, everything's going up around us. The cost of milk is going up. The cost of eggs are going up. I can't take my kids to the movie theater without dropping $150. Everything goes up, but for some reason, people don't expect that the tax returns won't go up. It's because most of the time, the firm owner is a nice guy or gal. They know these people, and it just, quite honestly, it's awkward to do that. But you know what's really funny? Behind the scenes, behind closed doors, when you're talking to that firm owner, you know what they're usually going to tell you? And I've had it told straight to my face. Yeah, you probably need to increase the fees. They're not where they need to be. It's frustrating, I know. But glass half full here, that's your opportunity, because had they raised those prices when they were the owner, well, guess what? They probably would have been asking for more money when you bought it from them. So yes, it's frustrating. Yes, it will take some work. Yes, there's going to be a couple of people mad. But in general, it's an opportunity for you to add a lot of cash flow to your bottom line without incurring operational expenses. Let's think about this. I raise prices, but my operational staff, my team, my cost, my software, none of that's going up. So that raised price is going straight to the bottom line. I mean, think about that. If you had $1 million firm and you increase prices and the bottom line is currently making $400,000, you increase prices to the point where you're making an extra $100,000 in revenue now. That $100,000 also flows to the bottom line. So while $1 million increased to $1.1 million for a 10% increase in revenue, the bottom line went from $400,000 to $500,000, which is a 25% increase to your bottom line. And quite honestly, that's what I care about. I don't care what the revenue is. I care what the cash flow of the firm is. And to give you some actual data so you can understand what works and what's maybe tasteful, when we bought, there was a block that we bought that had like 1,500 clients. This was a lot of clients. All we wanted to do was bump the prices up just enough to help the severely underpriced returns that we were looking at, that we had just bought. We ended up raising prices $35 per return. That resulted in a little over $50,000 straight to the bottom line. This is a great way for you to boost your profitability very quickly. And look, if you raise the prices and a few people leave, I think out of 1,500 people, there was probably 10 people that called and kind of were, not happy with it. And out of those 10 people, only 2 of them actually left. This is a testament to a tasteful increase in price, but also the stickiness of the client base, which goes back to our criteria for acquiring a firm anyway. You're probably underestimating how sticky these clients are. But raising prices is a very powerful tool if you use it tastefully. The third thing you need to do after you buy that firm is probably implement a tech stack, AI, a bunch of these types of things, because I'm willing to bet that they don't have a practice management system. They don't have a Carbon, they don't have a tax dome, they don't have any of that. They're operating off of paper checks and Excel from a 2003 version. Implementing software and practice management systems will increase efficiency, and you're gonna see it right in front of your eyes. We implemented TaxDome as the practice management system, and immediately we saw about 10% of the client base over the first tax season use the online client portal to submit docs, to submit payment, sign 8879s, all those different things. That's a huge relief for the company. That's less phone calls, that's less foot traffic coming in the door. It's awesome to see how tech can really come in and create those efficiencies and profitabilities for you. I'm willing to bet they don't have a practice management system, so you implement it. You implement AI, which, by the way, AI is starting to do tax returns now, so that's even better for us. A bunch of these little improvements will add up, and it'll preserve your profitability while decreasing the stress on your staff. Because keep in mind, like, just because the job's currently getting done manually with the staff doesn't mean the staff is happy. It doesn't mean that they're not feeling overwhelmed. And we are all humans. Nobody can be in a state of overwhelm forever and not finally reach a boiling point or breaking point and take off and leave. You need to make sure that your staff, going back to that first point, you need to make sure that your staff feels good, they feel comfortable, and they're not feeling extremely overwhelmed. And if they are currently overwhelmed because you're in the middle of improving things, at least show them, hey, these are the things that we're doing here to try and make the job easier for you. Trust me, the tech stack is a great lever for you to push on to create that profitability and make sure that the firm is running efficiently. The fourth thing I think you need to do once you buy that firm is to add different revenue streams. The data tells me, of all these firms that I'm looking at with all of our community members, it says that predominantly the firms that we are buying from these baby boomers are essentially a tax preparation service with a little sprinkle of accounting services in it. Mostly, generally, right? The cluster of data. It's probably 70 to 75% tax prep with 20 to 25% accounting, primarily bookkeeping, and then there's usually a 3 to 5%. Maybe it's attestation, kind of auditing. Maybe it's advisory, but not much. So there's a lot of room to add more revenue streams and services to the clients. Now, I want to be clear, and I've used this word already, but tastefully, okay? Don't go in there and start spamming your client base with 1,000,001 different services that they can use. You need to tastefully do this, but there's a very real opportunity here. One of the ways to do that is to add advisory services, tax planning, tax strategy, all of those different things. One of our community members, Zach, is actually implementing this exact strategy in a firm he's buying. So he's buying 1,400 clients. Out of those 1,400 clients, he has about 400 business clients in that base. His plan is to get with those 400 business clients, have conversations with them, and to say, hey, look, I offer advisory services, and I think he charges, don't quote me on it, but about $2,000 a month for his tax planning. So his goal is, if I can get 10% of those 400 clients, those 400 business clients, on my tax advisory plan, I can almost turn over $1 million just in this one additional revenue stream. This has nothing to do with the cash flow of the firm in terms of the tax preparation and the accounting services that it's currently offering and performing. This is one completely new and very realistic strategy and revenue stream that he's going to add. It almost, I mean, this sounds crazy to say, but it almost makes the cash flow of the firm kind of irrelevant if he's going in there to make $1 million on his tax planning service. So those 40 clients at $24,000 a year, $960,000. You know what? Let's wipe that. Let's give old Zach here 42 clients so that bottom line can now be over that $1 million. That's just irking me with my OCD there. But you can see how powerful adding another revenue stream. Another idea in terms of adding revenue streams is the financial services industry. Insurance, life insurance, financial planning, all, retirement plans, all those different things. Those are very profitable and lucrative services that, quite honestly, the clients need. And I want you to understand the very unique position that you are in when you buy this firm. You are buying the trust of that client base. You, for all intents and purposes, see these clients as financially naked.
Completely naked.
And therefore, because they know you see them financially naked, they will trust you when you say, hey, you need to be doing this. Hey, you need to be putting back for retirement. Whatever the things are, they will trust you when you recommend these services. And so if you can partner with somebody, or if you have the right licenses to be offering these services, you can go in there and you can really boost your revenue and therefore your bottom line. So there's 4 different ways that once you buy the firm, you can go in there with kind of a roadmap, if you will, of the things that you're gonna kind of need to do in order to make sure that firm not only continues to survive at the levels it's been at, because we're all focused on the downside, but we can also make sure that it thrives and you are doubling, maybe even tripling what that bottom line looks like. And that is ultimately the goal for all of us. And by the way, if you're tired of the burnout, if you're tired of seeing all the YouTube videos and seeing other people like Zach make $1 million, screw that guy. No, I'm just playing. I really like Zach. But if you're tired of all of these different things and you actually want to make a change and see progress and go buy a firm, I do offer private CPA buy-side advisory, plus a community of other awesome individuals and people in our industry that are buying firms. I mean, look at this. It goes on and on and on. People are winning. If you're ready for that, there's a link in the description below. Book a call with me. Let's talk. We can talk about how my services, my advisory services, can help you get there. I don't do fluff. I will give it to you straight. I'm going to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we can figure out how you can get on that same path, follow the same processes as these other people. I'm not special. They're not special. There's just a process. There's just a plan to follow. And if you follow it, you'll buy a firm. Book a call with me. We'll talk a little bit more. And remember, it's a cruel world, but we're better together. We'll see you later.